Well, I've just been in a planning session for the event that's coming up March 3rd. One I had worked on with inviting uh, business associates and a great friend, Pablo Abian, along with several other key people with Argentina ties now in Argentina or in the U.S. One is, I guess, an expert on artificial intelligence. And that in itself has a big, long story. Um, I know in the 1990s it was an exciting time. A lot of the old established companies were focusing on the Y2K event. They had kept their software in COBOL and they had put it in code where only two digits represented the year. So when it got to 2000, you're going to see 00, and that impacted a lot of systems. We had changed our strategy, and we had been doing things on a Series 1 and RPG code and EDX, so we had the understanding of what the impact was of Y2K, but it was not a big issue for us. We were rewriting our system to do a situation there where we were doing it on a PC, and we wanted to take advantage of being an open system where we could do some of our base things through our own code and be on a lower cost platform. Sounds a little bit like the things that were going or have been going on in China. And I've been to Hangzhou, so I kind of realized what was happening there and can identify with that. So what happened was that we came out with a product in the 1990s that had a lot of foreign interest, whereas a lot of the old cable software systems that were Service Bureau were on old code and were on closed systems. And that's the big thing that you have to remember as to why the China AI solution took off. It was being done on a open system and in a lower cost platform, much like what we did back then. But in my trip to Hangzhou, I went to several places in China. I made presentations in Beijing, and I recall there doing a presentation where I followed a marketer in China who put code across the board, and it's a little bit like explaining why you should like Coca-Cola better than other drinks. And instead of just being pretty basic about it, he put all kinds of formulas up there talking about his marketing project. And it's just like you almost ran out of space going across the board, putting up a bunch of different formulas. So the Chinese are pretty adept at doing things like that. They were able to formalize things that we might do in a simple form. For example, like Coca-Cola, they may use a picture there where they just show that Coke tastes good, and they show some animation or some, horses or whatever they might want to show, but they keep it simple. So my presentation was more like what we do in the U.S. in our marketing. And again, you have to be simple in the sense of when you have people that are taking calls or talking to subscribers, that you can communicate and not be putting up some kind of an option there that nobody really understands until they get a bill, and then they start complaining. So we went through that in Beijing. In Guangzhou is similar. It's close to Hong Kong. But I was wanting to talk about Hangzhou since it's been in the news a lot. Everybody says, how could they do it in a small company in Hangzhou? Well, Hangzhou is short distance from Shanghai, and it's a communications capital of telecommunications. And I was there as a presenter, exhibitor, and so I had a lot of inside connections. And we even got to be on China TV. They have a big studio. I've been to a lot of the U.S. studios, and they're not even close to the size of the studios there, and they had all kinds of security. But I was there with a translator, and we got to interact with the crowd, and it was kind of more informal than I expected. And then we waited to be on the program, and we were queued up, I guess, to go out and do food tasting, which you could imagine they knew they could make fun of foreigners, and particularly those from the United States, about the taste of their food and identifying what it was. But that said, I wanted to make sure you're aware that my experience goes back to that time, and also the fact that I'm very familiar with taking a small unknown product into the global market, and that's one that was kind of developed in the Ozarks and then went internationally. Well, the upcoming conference or a day meeting that we have scheduled with contacts from Argentina, or with my old friend Pablo Abian. I spent a day or two there with him up in D.C. When Trump won the first election. That would have been 2016. And we met with a power couple from Argentina, Buenos Aires, and they were there observing the election. That's why I remember it so clearly, because that was the first time that Trump won, and we were there meeting with them because I had some contacts and I had been selling some products in LED in my market area in Arkansas, and I worked with Jim Guy Tucker, and so I wanted to meet with them and talk to them while they were there. And Pablo and I met with them, and they were only English speaking, so Pablo being there was real important to translate and also just carry the meeting, although I would give input at times. And it was an interesting time, but it also just showed that I had done work with Pablo then, and early on I had made contact when we were starting to do our software, cable TV software in South America, and one of the earlier installations was in Pelotas, Brazil. It's not too far from Uruguay, and that's another story in itself. That my friend Sid Shreve had a friend that had a ranch there, had about 2,000 head of Herefords. So it was a sizable ranch that we would stay out there and ride horses at times. But getting back to Pablo, then we just maintained contact and a lot of friendship over the years. And again, I went to his home, his wife Nora, and his son Frank, who's now a father. So Pablo's he's a grandparent now. Doesn't look it, but he is, and so we always have a lot of fun out of that and maintain contact. The main thing there is that he represents a lot of companies out of Argentina, both in the U.S. and back in Argentina, and he's going to be speaking on that subject at the upcoming meeting that's going to be held in Little Rock. It's going to be at UALR and also out at the Arkansas Art Museum. So I'm looking forward to that event, and I'll be having some interviews with some people, or at least some videos of some of the people who will be presenting, and we will be getting this out to many people so they will see what the event entails And the latter part of the event is at the museum, and will be a Argentina wine tasting. So it'll be a lot of education, a lot about the ethics of artificial intelligence, and why small companies from anywhere can be major players. That's one thing. Having a friendship, or at least a relationship over the years with Mark Cuban. I met him early on in cable shows. Talks about the small entrepreneurs being a player to compete with billion-dollar companies. At one time, it was only thought that you had to have a lot of money to compete, but that's no longer. So you'll be seeing a video on that as well. Thanks.